Hey everybody, this is Melanie Headley and you are listening to ToRAISE Questions Doula podcast. I am snuggled up on the couch with Thérèse Hakoun, the executive director of ToLabor, which is an international doula training and certifying organization. Hi.
Hey Melanie, I'm looking at the blanket behind you and thinking it really is something you should snuggle with.
Oh my gosh, I know. That's a great idea.
Yes. So, hi. It's really nice to be here with you and with everyone again. We are unfolding the blanket right
This is
now.
just the best.
It is. It's really cozy. And the reason, it's probably a little obnoxious to all of you, the reason we keep talking about where we're podcasting is because since the beginning of the podcast, we were so grateful to have the ability to podcast at all, but we were in a warehouse in a room that was cold or extremely hot or very cold and with no windows, and it was just it worked fine, but there was no
across a big table from each other,
right? No ambiance at all.
Nothing.
And we have wonderfully been given the equipment to move ourselves into our office.
From the lovely Matt Paxton.
Right. And into our office. And so it's just changed our environment and just created we are hanging out talking to you guys now in a different sort of way. So.
And it just kind of feels like we're hanging out.
Yeah. Talking.
Which is good.
Yeah. It's really nice. So
you should have heard the conversation before we got on.
Yeah. Melanie and I decided that this podcast could be ToRAISE Questions
about life.
Yeah. Because we end up talking about everything else. So stay tuned in the future for the annex of an offshoot of this podcast. But here we are, another rainy fall, chilly day, but lovely to be inside here. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so we do want to mention our sponsor, Latched Mama. latchedmama.com, and you guys got to hear Melissa Wirt's voice the last episode. We got to call her and see what a typical day in the life of Latched Mama was, which was fun. And we just want to give a little shout out too about their warehouse sale coming up for those of you that are local here in Richmond. It's October 14th. You can get the information on latchedmama.com or their Facebook page.
Yes, and thank you, latchedmama.com and their Facebook page, and they'll be getting new inventory in as well very soon, if not already. And so check it out. Such comfortable clothing. So here we are.
Yes. And do you have any workshops coming up?
The one I just want to specifically mention, because we did do a podcast with Carla Halbert on perinatal loss and traumatic grief.
Yes.
We are having a workshop here in Richmond. It will be November 11th and 12th, a Friday and Saturday. We would love to encourage you to come to it. The more I talk to Carla about her plans for the training, it's really significant, important, and not just in birth work, but in life work.
Absolutely.
It's about dealing with grief, and I think we all have had grief and in our life, but obviously the focus will be on how, as a birth attendant, how to help our clients. But part of the process is helping yourself learn how to address your own grief in your own life, so that you can be fully present for somebody else's. So pass this on also to other people in your life that, it's for doulas, but it's for everyone. Social workers, nurses, midwives, doctors, a person who has had a loss in their life, I think would benefit from this workshop as well. People of all walks. We're actually getting inquiries from other people over and above doulas. So that is, again, November 11th and 12th in Richmond, but you can look it up on the website.
That's great.
Yeah. So.
Well, and what are we going to talk about today?
I think the topic primarily would be about, to describe it as avoiding birth shame and avoiding shaming people. Period. Yes. So.
Good. I can't wait.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
So the topic today is about shaming. And this is something that is so important as a topic in our life experiences, and something that I feel really strongly about, and something that I've written about, how we have conversations with others when we're listening to their experiences. And so specifically, we're going to talk about it in relationship to birth. And this was prompted again in me because of an article that I read in Huffington Post recently that we also posted on our Facebook page in the last couple of weeks. But I just want to read a little bit of it to give the overview, because her words were just so, the woman who wrote this, oh my goodness, I need to
We'll find her name. Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me. But here's what she said. She had a cesarean, is the background of this. And she said, I felt like I couldn't even talk about childbirth with other moms because, well, obviously I'd never done it. And I was certainly not a good birther, like some women claimed. I was a very bad birther, inadequate birther, and there was nothing I could do about it. But it wasn't birth shaming or being a bad birther that hurt the most. The hurt was deeper. It was the reality that I had not been even given birth to my child. With every reference and utterance of the simple rhetoric of giving birth, I felt my womanhood being stripped away. I felt the meaning and significance of my own motherhood diminish. Giving is an action, and I was immobile. Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry. She was immobile. And she goes on. When I read this, I had just so many emotions around her emotions and her rawness. And I loved what she had to say as far as the rawness of it, her description of not being a good birther.
Yeah.
And we hear this from women a lot, that they, and specifically like her, for many women who have given birth by cesarean, they feel ostracized. They feel that they can't share their experience. They feel that they are less than somebody else. They're being judged against all of the world,
right,
of all those women who could do it.
Well, it breaks my heart that she says that she didn't feel like she even gave birth.
I know, because what she actually goes on to say, let me see if I can find this. I didn't even give birth. I cried to my husband late one night. Dr. Lin did. He gave birth to our baby in the operating room. It wasn't even me. Which I can only imagine, because that was not my experience, but I can imagine, based on speaking to many, many people through the years about that same kind of feeling, that disconnect. But that what happens is our culture of birthers will escalate that in so many ways. We define ourselves by how we gave birth. And as a wise person said one time, birth is not our definition. I mean, I do not call myself a home birth mother. I do not call myself a vaginal mother. I gave birth at home. I did give birth vaginally. I gave birth in the hospital vaginally. But we need to take away some of these labels also for ourselves, but specifically when we're talking to other people.
Well, so I agree with you, but then I also, being those things myself, that makes me feel very proud of myself.
See,
at
there's
the same
a fine
time.
line. I agree.
And but what it doesn't do is make me judge anyone that did anything differently.
It doesn't, but to the listener, it could make you sound like you're judging.
Right. And so when I hear what she wrote, what makes me so sad is that she didn't have a support team around her to lift her up and help her still see that this was truly her giving birth.
Right.
And I think that is really what defines, I think birth is transformative. No matter how you give birth, how it happens, what happens, you become a mother.
Right.
And that changes you. And however you do it changes you. But I think what I pull from with my own experiences is how supported I felt around that time.
So that's really the point of this. And I completely agree with you. We don't disagree on this in any way, because I don't call myself a home birth mother, but I'm proud of the fact that this is the way my body gave birth. I would hope I would be equally proud of the way my body grew a baby, gave birth, understood why I needed to give birth otherwise than a vaginal delivery or in a hospital. But the only way we're going to know that is, one, education, but really it's support around you, like you said, Melanie. Right. So there's this fine line of wanting people to feel good about their experiences, because now I'm going to kind of tangential here, which I'm good at. The flip side of this also are people who have given birth unmedicated or vaginally or at home or in the hospital, wherever their experience is, and feeling reluctant to tell their stories for fear that they will shame somebody.
Right.
So we have this dance.
Well, it goes both ways.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Both groups, all groups don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Right. Except for people end up hurting other people's feelings. So where is the solution to this problem? Why is it that this group doesn't want to hurt, this person doesn't want to hurt, and yet in the end, a person like this woman is describing, she felt for some reason, probably I would assume from some experience, that she was being judged by the fact that she did not give birth vaginally.
Right.
And so who are those people, and how do we, and specifically doulas, but I mean we in the big general sense, not continue to make people feel less than their experience?
Well, I think that this problem exists in every social circle, and birth is what we're talking about today. But in every social circle, there is an opportunity to feel less than the people around you.
Absolutely.
I just got an email from one of my clients, and she said she had left a group prenatal appointment and felt that everyone in the appointment was doing so much more than she was for their babies. And her question was, what do I need to do? What tinctures do I need to take? What teas do I need to drink? What classes do I need? What exercises do I need to do to get to that point?
Right.
And my response was, you're already doing such a great job. Don't put yourself up against these other women and compare yourself because you can do that in any circle of your life, but be confident and be proud of yourself and what you're already doing and loving your
and
baby.
If you want those other options, I can give those to you.
Absolutely. But I think in that email was the overwhelming, I'm feeling less than and I'm feeling judged.
One of the things I do, I've been doing this birth circle for off and on now for 20 plus years. And one of the opening statements, and I say it every single circle, I don't care if it's the same people in the room every single time, but I make a point of an introduction to the circle. And one of the things I say is, we are going to suspend judgment.
Yeah.
And not just on each other, but we're going to suspend judgment on ourselves. That we are here to listen to people's experiences and to their stories, but not hold ourselves up against those as if you're better or you're less than. These are our experiences, and we can learn from those experiences. What we do with that information is what we do with that information, period, but not in that judgmental way. And I think what happens is we're told not to judge people, but we're rarely told not to judge ourselves. We are our harshest critics.
Absolutely.
And then if you're a critic in your own mind, you tend to criticize other people too. And I speak of that from experience, that we can tend to be then more judgmental towards other people unintentionally. So I think when we are, I guess for me more than anything, this is about listening. And this is when we are listening to somebody's birth story, we have to just be a listener. We are not there sharing our story in a way that could make somebody feel like they're being compared to. I mean, we can share commonalities, we can share experiences, but not in a way that makes somebody feel that they didn't do it the right way.
Right.
And I think, really the message of this woman when she wrote this is she felt like she didn't do it the right way. And her body didn't. She was suffering from, and she really, and I use the word suffering because she was suffering from her own perspective. She didn't feel her body worked. She didn't feel that the culture supported her around her for how her baby ended up coming into the world.
Right.
And so she was just lost in this feeling of, I didn't do it. I mean, her statement that the doctor gave birth, not her.
So let's say that you were her doula. What would the message be? Obviously we don't know her whole birth story, but what would the message be that you would give to her? She said she only progressed a few centimeters. If you read the entire article, and we'll give you her name and everything so you guys can find it and read it. But and she needed to have a cesarean. What would be the message that you would give to her as her support person?
Well, one of the first things I would not do is talk about at least she had a healthy baby, because that is a reality, that is a truth, and that is something that we want somebody to understand, that they have a healthy baby. But that's not the words they need to hear after they give birth to, and they're feeling distraught in some way.
That goes back to our, the misguided, the idea that all we need is a healthy baby and a healthy mom.
Right.
That's all that we're really allowed to ask for.
Right.
And so if we are asking for anything more than that, then we are asking for too much.
We're selfish. We're not thinking about anything but ourselves. I think what I always go to is when somebody is expressing, I would not assume, I guess this should be said first, I would not assume my client felt this way. I mean, we can't assume that every person who has a cesarean feels like this woman.
Well, what would be some things that you would try to put in place, even in the OR or in the L&D room, while making the decision to go have the C-section? What would be some things you would put in place to help avoid her feeling like that?
Yeah, I think this goes back to just doula work in general, don't you? It's that I've always said this, that if you are present with somebody throughout ideally their pregnancy, a part of their pregnancy, their labor and their birth, and you are doing your job of giving them their options, their choices, their ability to use their voice to really make informed decisions, that if they get to a place in their labor where they are needing to have a cesarean, though they may be disappointed, because I've been with certainly enough women who feel disappointed that this wasn't the birth they were anticipating, they feel like they actively, though, participate in the decision-making process. And so they have a different sense of the experience based on actively participating.
Right.
So you're already doing your work of creating what we hope is a smoother transition into not judging themselves harshly, because they can look back and go, I did do this. I did try that. We did do that. I did ask for that. And I needed that. And I think
well, and let me say one thing. I think with that disappointment, I think affirming that that's okay to feel.
Absolutely.
And not pushing it under the rug and saying, oh, but, we're going to have a baby here, or, just like you said, a healthy baby. But really sitting with that disappointment and saying, I hear you, and that those feelings are valid.
Absolutely. I shared one time on this podcast This is just one experience, and you've had these experiences too, where, the woman, actually, it's not one, it's been quite a few, where they just cry.
Yeah.
They just cry. And this one particular woman, she just started to cry. And I shared this story because it kind of is relevant to the same story that we're talking about. She said in the room where her husband, the doctor, the nurse, her mother-in-law were all standing there, and me. And she said, she was crying. She said, I guess I'm just not as strong as I thought I was. And I waited for a second, just assuming that those people who really loved her would say something, or the care providers would come up with some positive statement to her, a woman who had labored all day and had tried everything, and this was the end result. I thought they would say something, but it was silence. And in that flash of a second, I said, of course you're strong. You're so incredibly strong. I've watched you be strong throughout this entire day, making choices, having to let go of things.
Yes.
Going over and above anything that you thought your body was going to be asked to do. You are amazingly strong. And it's okay, though, to feel sad at this moment. It's okay to cry. And she was weeping, and I know that made a difference in her. It didn't. I always think of, what if nobody had responded back to her,
and
then she holds on to she wasn't strong.
She wasn't strong, and the same thing goes for with clients who get the epidural.
Right.
I've heard women say the same thing, like I guess I wasn't strong enough, or I guess I just couldn't do it. Something that I try to always say is, you're making a really good decision, and your work is not done. Right. You still have work to do. This is not you giving up. And I think, with a C-section too, you still have work to do, and we're going to have this baby, and we're going to get baby skin to skin, and we're going to nurse the baby, and then you've got to parent the baby. I mean,
right.
This is not, you are not giving up.
Yes. And then the other part of it, without again sounding condescending in any of those things that we're talking about, what I said, what you just said, is reminding people in their pregnancy, when you're working with them, that birth is a facet of this experience. Growing that baby for all those months, 9-10 months, is huge.
That is huge.
It's huge. And then the flip side is the lifelong commitment to this child and the parenting of this child. So our focus on how the baby arrives, we know, so I hope our listeners can understand this, it is very important. It is very significant. How our babies arrive do have a significant transformative impact on the baby and ourselves. Get it? But it does not mean that it's the end all to end all if our babies come in a different way than we anticipated. I mean, it's this fine line dance again of the importance of it, but not making it so that somebody feels guilty and shameful about their experience.
So is this something that you would recommend talking about in prenatal visits?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, don't you? We all do.
Yes.
We all should talk about the flexibility,
yes.
the we've said it so many times here, birth has its own authority. It will define where we're going. We have only so much control. We have visions, we have options, we have choices, we create that support system, we choose good care providers, we choose the best facility we think for what we are looking for. We do all of those things.
Stacking the odds in your favor
yes.
is what I call it.
Yeah. But in the end,
you've got to be flexible.
You've got to be, because life does have its own course of action. We all know that
yes.
every single day of our life.
And I think, and what I do share with my clients is that having high expectations of your birth experience will actually give you a better birth experience if those expectations play out or not. But the fact is, if you have high expectations, you are more committed and you're more committed to doing the work around it and the preparation for it. Now, if it comes to, a completely different story, you did the work and you know that you put the time in and made really good informed decisions.
Right.
But, in that prenatal visit with your clients, I think it's so important to talk about what if, your clients have this detailed birth plan or, birth wishes or birth desires or whatever
right.
they've come up with. Really talking about what happens if this derails? What happens if we do need to use an intervention? What happens if your baby decides to be born in a different way? How do we, and I guess I'm asking you, Therese, what are some good, verbiage around that, how you would share that with a client?
Of course, depending on who I'm talking to and how the conversation, and because we also try to meet the person we're working with where they are. So I would basically, my conversation is going to be similar to what you just said, though, Melanie. It's going to be about how these are our plans. These are our expectations. And that's what we're working for. But in the end, you have done a magnificent job of growing this baby.
I love the emphasis being on growing the baby.
Yeah. One of the things I always say to people is you cannot forget that for the last 9 months, you and you alone have been growing this baby. You and the baby have been doing a magnificent job. Even if you're getting excellent prenatal care, they're not making it happen one way or the other necessarily. They do tests, they check in, you get reassurance. You might get a tweaking of something for something. But in the end, your body is doing this. And you can't forget that is so important aspect of this whole experience. This is a lifelong experience. So I am a person who will talk about the birth may not go the way. And it is really important to talk about. I'll say, I know your desire is not to use Pitocin or be induced or to have a epidural or narcotics or vacuum, whatever, any of the interventions. But we're going to go over all of these,
right? Because
there is always a possibility that not only would you want them, but they may be medically necessary for you to have them, and we need to talk about them now and be aware of the pros and cons of them and what your options and choices are.
I think that should be in a childbirth ed class. I think going through each of the interventions.
Right. But I want to make sure my clients know that.
And as a doula, I would really, that's why it's so important that you do audit a CBE for your training and certification, because then you know what information your clients are getting, but making sure that you are encourage them to take a class that lays out interventions in that manner, in the way of, let's go through all of them and let's talk about when they actually would become medically necessary and when it's important to use them, and, get into that kind of switching your perspective in your labor of, we've been trying to avoid, but now we need it.
And, completely agree that your clients should take a childbirth education class, and ideally they're taking the one that aligns with what the people you're working with are looking for as well. So that's where you need to know who the CBE people are in your community. But you want to still, it's like the pregnant brain.
Yeah,
has
just
to
reinforce.
Yeah. And also people may still not be clear. And so you're checking in. Are you clear about these things? Or it's more like, so tell me what you know about the epidural. When is it beneficial to have? When would it not be necessarily your desire to have it? When would you think, do you know when it might be medically necessary for you to have? And the risks and benefits to it, so that you're not boom, 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 here's what it is. It's more like making sure that they do have the full knowledge that you want them to have when their brain is thinking more, than when they're in labor. But you're preparing the pathway. It's not saying, because I've had this conversation with some clients in the past where they're like, but I don't want to talk about those things because I think it's bringing bad energy into it. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
It's got to be realistic too.
Totally realistic. And it's not that this is going to happen, but this is a way to prepare for the possibility. We don't know what this labor is going to play out to be. Your baby hasn't told us what their plan is with this labor. You may have a plan, but the baby may have a different plan. And we have to respect that sometimes babies have a different way of doing things. And it doesn't mean your body is failing or the baby is failing. It just means this is what's happening.
Right.
I think that there's also something I want to bring up. The flip side of this is I have also read articles, and we have posted on the Facebook page for discussion purposes. All of ours are for discussion purposes. People who have written articles on the other side of this saying, I can't stand that women think that they have to give birth naturally to be a mother, that you should get an epidural right away, that there is no reason to suffer this pain, that you never see it advertised that you could have an unmedicated root canal or an unmedicated vasectomy or an unmedicated appendectomy. And there's this other side of making fun of those who are wanting to give birth unmedicated, who have that desire to do it. And they're told, oh, we don't get medals at the end of this, or they are trying to be a martyr or suffering. We got to let these stories go. It's like, okay, I get that you feel. The woman who wrote an article like that or speaks that way, I get that they feel that was their experience. They didn't want to feel pressured to have their baby any other way than they wanted to have their baby. That's the message.
Yeah.
But don't go attacking an other side or another perspective or another person because you made a choice the way you made a choice. I'm okay with your choice. If you're okay with your choice, it's your choice. I could say, I could ask you a bunch of questions, but I probably won't if that's not where you want to go with this conversation. If you want to have a dialogue about these things, let's have a dialogue. But don't assign that person was a martyr, or they have a higher tolerance for pain, or they suffered unnecessarily. If that person who had that experience feels that way, then they say that.
Exactly.
And that's where this is suspending the judgment. And maybe that's why this person who wrote about the cesarean feels really strongly that she wasn't a good birther, because that was the rhetoric.
That's the message.
That was the message.
So I was just having this conversation last night with a girlfriend about judgment, not about birth work judgment, just judgment in general. And, I said to her, as a birth worker, my training has been done in suspending judgment, in the non-judgment of others. People, my clients make different decisions than I had made around my birth. That's okay. And I support them 100% in those decisions, because this is their birth, not my birth. And I think that, it's kind of spilled over into just life as well. I am the least judgmental person, because I know that it could hurt to feel judged and to feel that shame. And I think as birth workers, we really need to focus on that. And I think you do such a great job of that training in the workshop, of really getting into that place of suspending judgment and really holding space for someone else to go through their own journey.
Well, I appreciate that. And I do think that it is the message. It's that it is okay to have our opinions. It's okay to have our experiences, which are often based on which creates our opinions. and vice versa. But it's how we have conversations with people about these things, not making someone feel less than. And as a doula, it is really important that we, this is something I say in workshops, that one of the conversations you have to have with your client, overwhelmingly, the majority of people will hire a doula who are looking for the unmedicated vaginal delivery. Not everyone. But certainly the majority. And so we will listen to our client and we will hear that that's what their desire is, and we will help them have, like you said, that higher goal of doing that, and really help them set things up as best as possible for them to have that experience. But what then we should say to them is that what your job is, what my job is to support you. And that if you come to a place in your labor where you feel you can't go on any further without some kind of medication, for instance, like an epidural, or then my job, and you are telling your client this, is to try and push you past that point. Like my job is to try and see if I can give you some other options, some other choices, get you to try some other things before you make that final decision. But if you can't get past that point, I will be right there with you. I will support you.
Continue to support you 100%.
No matter what. I will not abandon you. This is not about me. This is about you and your birth experience. I want you to have a good birth experience.
Absolutely. And this is a conversation that needs to happen with the partner as well.
Absolutely. And it's so important, though, do not hesitate to, do not take it for granted that they know that.
Yeah.
You have to speak it. And I think it's one of those things that prenatally is just a given that you say with every client.
You do not have the power to disappoint me.
Yeah. And nothing you say or do, it's because this has nothing to do with me. And they need to know that, because we all don't want to disappoint anybody. But also they want to know you won't abandon them. You won't leave them emotionally, physically, in any way if they receive something or something changes. And cesareans happen as we know, for all different reasons. Failure to progress, fetal distress, maternal exhaustion, whatever the case might be.
Pain relief.
And then there's the medical reasons such as, a true, like a prolapse or abruption or those kinds of things. It doesn't matter. If this person at that moment feels, given good support around them, good information, that this is the right decision, then that is the decision that they make. And we have to surround them with that good support that we've already talked about. That's so important then and into the postpartum period, so that they don't feel like they have to justify their experience. The justification of our experiences is tiresome. It's a waste of energy. You just gave birth to a baby. Your energy needs to go is to taking care of yourself, letting your body heal, regardless of how you gave birth, and nurturing your new baby.
Well, and that's, I think, goes back to what we said in the beginning, where what the whole transformation is about the support that you feel on the day that your baby is brought into the world, no matter how your baby is brought into the world. If you can really let go and let those around you lift you up and support you, then all you do have to think about is meeting your baby and feeding your baby and letting all of that judgment and shame go.
Right.
Because the people around you are reinforcing that this is okay, that you're okay, you're in safe hands, that this is what's supposed to happen.
And then helping your client remember they don't have to tell everybody their birth story. That they save their birth story for those who can really honor their experience. Because most people will say, how did it go? And they can say, it went great. or oh, it was different than I thought, or it was, but in the end, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then carry on. We don't have to share our experiences with everyone. We hone it in. We take what we need to give to other people and dole it out as is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And, as the years go by, that may switch and change, and you may feel more vocal or less vocal. But in a vulnerable time, like after giving birth,
mm-hmm.
I just want people to surround themselves with as much positivity and sensitivity,
mm-hmm.
because the other experiences allowing that person to grieve, if that's what they're feeling, a grief for whatever their experience was. So that's, not necessarily are they going to feel like positivity around them,
right?
But grief around them.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then also helping people through their pregnancy, we're helping them find their own voice. It's finding their voice in the postpartum to say to others, I really rather not talk about this.
Yeah.
Or I don't really want to argue about this.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I appreciate that you feel one way and I may feel another way. Let's talk about it another time,
mm-hmm.
just not now.
Mm-hmm. Not accepting that.
Yeah.
Not taking it on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So one last thing I want to bring in here is, for one thing, I want to give you the name of the author, Jenny K. Brown, who says she's a mother and other, and it was in the September 15th online edition of HuffPost that she wrote this article, and we do have it, as I said, on our Facebook page at about that same time. But in the end, what she comes to, she says, I was giving all I could physically and mentally and emotionally too, and it's just what both my babies have needed, as none of us would have made it otherwise. Birth is a humble, submissive, sacrificial act every time. It is always a gift, and you know what? I have given birth, and I'm a good birther.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so she comes to her place, but it was through a lot of pain, of internal and external, of trying to figure out what is her place. So it comes back down to that golden rule. Do unto others as we'd have them do unto us.
Mm-hmm.
Treat people well.
Mm-hmm.
Think how you would want to be responded to and give that space. It really comes down to listening more than talking. It's compassionate care that doesn't often need a lot of words. It needs a intentional listening space for somebody, and really listening.
I like
to
intentional listening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to what they're saying and pausing that 3-second rule and thinking, how may I say it so it will be received in the way it needs to be heard, so that when we respond back,
rule of my life.
Yeah, we try that rule all the time, don't we? That they will hear what needs to be said, not what we think they need to hear.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just some things to think about. But as doulas, and as Melanie said, and this is so why I teach the workshops, it's about life. And this carries over into how we can be with everybody in our life. And remember that it never feels good to be judged, so to try not to judge somebody else. And in my opinion, there is no place in anybody's life for shame. Guilt is something that is different than shame. Shame doesn't belong in anybody's life. So don't let somebody feel shamed. Help them and don't cause shame. So that's it for today.
Thanks for listening. And if you have your own story that you have dealt with a client around judgment around their birth, or have been, maybe, even with clients who on the outside it looks like they got what they wanted. Sometimes those clients feel shame or judged around that, or that they didn't get the birth experience that they really wanted to have. And so, we just really want to hear from you. We want to hear about your experiences around this, maybe your own births or from clients. But you can email us at ToRAISE Questions@gmail.com, and you can post on our Facebook page
And
to labor.
This is really exciting. Very soon, we will be launching the ToRAISE Questions Doula podcast website.
Woohoo.
And Facebook page, where you will be able to go to directly to comment on and get all the episodes and the resources and so forth. So we'll let you know when that is live and ready to go. So yes, in the meantime, ToRAISEquestions@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.